If you are preparing for the IELTS Academic and you don't know what to do, you are confused, this is the right video to watch. Hello, welcome to my channel. In this video, I had an interview with one of my best students who scored a perfect band score in the IELTS Academic. Let's start watching it. Can you share some tips on staying motivated during your IELTS preparation?
I think it's really important what type of IELTS you would like to enter, because mine was academic, so I wanted to make sure that I get the point that I was aiming for, and it really motivated me personally. If you don't know what your motivation is when it comes to entering IELTS, maybe it might be too early for you to enter. If that's like something academic, maybe you should specify more what kind of ranges you're going for in general and for each section. It can help you a lot.
That was a really good tip. Now, let's talk about resources. What resources did you find most helpful during your study period?
To be honest, working with you was really, very good in terms of getting resources, because you really helped me to work on previous exams of IELTS. And I also got from you some sort of an vocabulary book of Barron's, I think. And it also helped me to enhance my vocabulary while I was writing or speaking. At the end of the book, I also had some sort of an cheat sheet about how to, what kind of vocabulary can I use with the grammar. So there were like very important details about the English language. It also helped me to gain a few points in the speaking, I guess.
All right, thank you. And thank you so much for your kind words. I really appreciate it. And you were also a very determined and dedicated student. That's why you could just achieve your desired band score. Now, let's talk about also progress. How did you track your progress throughout your preparation?
First of all, you and I talked about what kind of a schedule that we can follow along, and we've decided to take courses, a few courses in each week for like 3 weeks or so. So I was personally started with some sort of informational journey. Like I just learned and do some practices with you and by myself. But when I got closer to the exam date, um I actually did some sort of an scoring for myself. I asked you to determine how is my writing, what score would you give if you see that kind of writing in real IELTS exams. So those kind of evaluations helped me to see if I'm doing it right or wrong, and what parts should I fix. Yeah, that's all I can say.
That was
So
really
I
good.
think people should work for a while and then think about the score.
All right, that was a very good tip. And it was also really important that you mentioned, you just followed it up. You wanted also to learn the areas of improvement for yourself. That was a really good point that you mentioned that students should do. Now, I know that students who prepare for the IELTS, and they generally face a lot of challenges. Now, let's just get to your specific just case. What was the biggest challenge you faced while preparing for the IELTS, and how did you overcome it?
I think the biggest challenge is how to work to IELTS, because there are a lot of resources about how to do that. But the real problem is what is the right schedule for you? What is the right lesson program for you? Because it must be some sort of personalized in order to work. So I decided to find a teacher, and I've already known you, thanks to my friend. So
Yeah.
yes, you really helped me to prepare that schedule for me, and it really helped me, uh, to get really fast into this IELTS working phase. And I didn't thought about the IELTS, how to get prepared to IELTS, or what kind of an exam is it? It is so because I didn't have a lot of time. I prepared like in 4 or 3 weeks because I've already known English since I was in middle school or so. But I didn't know the exam because I had to pass it, and yeah.
All right. That was also good. Thank you for sharing. And again, thanks for your kind words. And also, you
You're
mentioned
welcome.
something important that you had already known English before starting for the IELTS. It's because sometimes the students, they think that in a very short period of time, they can just reach a very high band score. But they should have just background, that fundamental language proficiency before just taking specific IELTS courses. And thanks for mentioning that. And also, I remember that you were into technology, especially AI, ChatGPT, and so on. Now I'm just curious about it and how probably that technology helped you in your preparation. How did technology, especially AI and ChatGPT, play a role in your IELTS preparation?
Well, personally, I didn't use a lot, but in our sessions, we use together. And sometimes we check some points about the writing because it can write the same things that you can also tell me. Uh, when it comes to my personal work, my work outside our courses, I didn't actually integrate it that much because sometimes AI can produce very general answers, which won't really help you a lot. And sometimes our writings doesn't have to be that perfect. We don't have to aim 9 from writing.
Yes.
So I wasn't personally aiming 9 from writing, and I didn't use it for the writing part. And personally, I don't think that we can use ChatGPT or other kind of things for speaking. I don't think that it can be really good for speaking, at least for the moment. I don't
Yeah.
think that it's a good option to do. I think working with a human can bring you more good, how can I say, good improvements, because better improvements, because sometimes teachers can tell you only one point to fix yourself, but ChatGPT can tell you like millions of them
Yeah.
because we're all, every speech that we're doing is with flaws, and it's normal. And even in the exam, we can make mistakes. I also
Yeah.
did mistakes, and I'm doing it right now, so no
That's all
problem.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and thanks for sharing your perspective on it. And just to our audience, I have to just clarify that you are an expert user of technology, AI, and ChatGPT. Probably they don't know that, but this specific student is an expert in this area. And I totally agree with you. And yeah, now let's talk about also skills. And let's start with the listening part. Your listening was really good. And just I'm curious about the strategies that you used and so on. How did you improve your listening skills for the IELTS exam?
I think my listening skill for other languages that I know is also really good. So it's, I think, a personal thing. I can't
Yeah.
say that it's just work. I think it really requires some time to get a very good listening skill. Um, but I believe that it can be improved in a short period of time, or just for IELTS, it can, of course, be improved. I personally listened a lot of radio and a lot of podcasts. And there are really cool podcasts for IELTS. Also, your channel is a very good way to do listening, because any sort of video in English can help any student, I believe. Maybe the tricky point is that students can watch some English videos or podcasts with English transcript, because English transcript can really help you to grasp all the words in that audio, even if you don't understand the whole meaning. So the idea here is that understanding words in a conversation, not understanding what's going on in the conversation in the first phase, I could
Yeah.
say that. And yeah, audiobooks, if they can find some, is another good way for children to start learning English. That's all.
All right, thank you. To be honest, you answered my question just perfectly, and even you answered the follow-up questions that I was planning to ask you about the suggestions and so on. So it was a perfect response for the listening section of the IELTS completely. Now, let's move to the reading part of the IELTS. And because you took academic IELTS, the reading section is very difficult for the students generally. And what strategies did you use to enhance your reading speed and comprehension?
Again, I think this skill is also requires some time to learn and to really get good at it. I think reading can be improved by just reading, but maybe audiobooks again can be a good way to start, because their language is really more plain, and you can follow along with the audio, which makes the reading activity less boring.
Yes.
You can also do the same thing if you don't have any audiobook. It's really easy. You just find a podcast which has a transcript, or you can right now generate the transcript with
Yep.
AI. Um, well, apart from that, the book that she gave me for the vocabulary, Barron's vocabulary book, I think,
Mhm.
that book was also really helpful for the reading, because while you're reading, especially in IELTS Academic, you have to know some words in order to understand some parts of the reading. And they're not very complicated words, by the way. For
Yep.
me, I had a lot of practice, so I could understand, or guess the word's meaning. I think guessing a word's meaning also a good way to practice reading and vocabulary, because I don't think that we can memorize vocabulary.
Mhm.
It's really boring. Yeah.
All right. Thank you. And again, the strategies that you mentioned completely answered all the questions that I had in my mind to ask about the reading section. Now let's move to the writing part. Generally speaking, the writing section of the IELTS, academic IELTS, is difficult for a lot of students in Turkey and around the world. And first of all, I want to know your perspective on it. Why do you think that the writing section is difficult for Turkish students? And based on my experience in Turkey, it's been really difficult for them. And then I will ask you some questions about the writing part.
Okay, well, personally, I also think that writing is the most difficult one, because we
Yep.
don't write. That's the reason we don't
Yep.
write. If you have some sort of a habit to write something, it's amazing, because you can, pass the part of creating ideas and arguments and examples for your writing part in IELTS, because you already have that ability to think and write and create some sort of an plan for the writing. After creating that plan, you have to, attack to introduction and other
Yep.
parts and conclusion. It will be probably faster for you to think and write at the same time. But for most of the students in Turkey, probably we don't like writing.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's the real issue in there. And it can be overcome. And I think that we can find different ways to overcome this.
Mhm.
yeah, I don't think that it would be that hard to study, but again, it really requires time and energy
Yeah,
to do it.
you're right. And thanks for sharing that with us. And now let's talk about yourself. How did you prepare for the writing section of the IELTS?
In our sessions, we first worked on reading and listening, as I remember correctly. Then we went for the speaking and writing. So I think I just worked for the vocabulary, the grammar. Then I memorized some, certain phrases to start a paragraph, to give an opposite argument, to give example, whatever. These kind of phrases. And um, well, I tried to write a writing from the start to the end. Also, IELTS writing has different types of writings. You have to know all types of short and long writing uh, sections before you enter the exam. So it really requires you to understand what kind of an exam you're taking. Again, it's something methodological. You have to work beforehand, even even before learning how to write. You have to understand what IELTS writing is, especially for the academic part.
All right, thank you. Since you talked about also different types of writing, essay writing, I want to know also your strategies and your tips. Can you share a few tips on how to organize essays and probably reports effectively for the IELTS?
Well, if you see some sort of an image or illustration, I think it's important to compare it in your head first, or, create some sort of a plan. It might be on your head or on paper, but it's really important to create that plan because you know that you will compare certain things, and then maybe you can find or arrive some sort of a general trend in those illustrations or in those visualizations. They might ask you anything. It might be statistical, it might be, I don't know. It really depends on the question itself. You really have to check out the past papers of the IELTS in order to understand what I'm saying right now. For the long essays and reports, I think it's really important to keep in mind your intention and thinking about the reader. Because when we're writing, we know everything, we know all the information. It doesn't have, by the way, what I'm saying is doesn't really important for the IELTS. It also covers for your general English essays. You will probably do some research, you will work on certain phrases, whatever, and when you write something, we're writing it for ourselves, and we might use a good way to separate our informations for each paragraph, and so, but we might forget some details for the reader, and when reader reads that text, they can actually understand what we're talking about, or it might not be as convincing as your full original version in your head. So, yes, I think thinking about reader while writing is really important, and proofreading can also help you to see those missing details.
You mentioned really important points for the writing section of the IELTS, being focused on the topic and considering just the reader while writing, because a lot of students deviate while writing the essay, and that's one of the main reasons that they can't get a high band score. And now I have also another question about the writing section, and it's about the feedback. What was the role of feedback in improving your writing skills?
Well, it really helped me to organize my time because you will have a limited time in IELTS, and when you get feedbacks, especially about why I couldn't finish the writing on time. Well, it really helped me to organize the way I'm handling writing tasks, because there will be two tasks and one of them is a shorter one. I personally always started with the shorter one, but then I changed my strategy. So in order to write good things on the long ones, and it really helped me to manage my time in the exam too.
Thank you so much for sharing these incredible tips for the writing section of the IELTS. Now, let's get to the speaking part. To be honest, your speaking in our lessons, your speaking was awesome. But I know that speaking also is another area that Turkish students have generally problem with. And that's why I need your advice on the speaking section in detail. First, how did you practice and improve your speaking skills before the IELTS? And then tell us about the IELTS time while you were preparing for the IELTS specifically.
Sure. Well, when I was in middle school I'm not sure, maybe, yes, when I was in middle school, I took some voice call lessons. Like, there I mean, should I give the name of the company or the
You can just
product?
explain how it worked because I'm not very familiar with that.
Okay, sure. Well, I just took some lessons. Like, they were selling those lessons like bundles or packages, something like that. So I bought is 6 months of speaking, something like that,
Yep.
because it was cheap. It was a new product in Turkey, and I wanted to benefit from that. So it really helped me to enhance my speaking skills. Also, I was really fond of English uh, and other sort of languages. I like learning new languages. That's why I was also quite motivated to speak. After taking those speaking lessons, I think my pronunciation is also improved. Um, In high school, I had a chance to take English lessons, and in those lessons, actually, we couldn't do a lot of grammar, but we again spoke between us. We were like in groups and speaking. The activity overall helped me to keep my English at a certain level, but personally, I was also speaking by myself sometimes because we don't always that kind of power to buy language courses
Yep.
and English, other kind of resources, and I think recording our voice is a good way to study English. I also had other kind of projects like a tuning project. It's a AU project, and it really helped me to enhance my speaking too, because we were recording our voice for a podcast
Yep.
about earthquake, I think. Um, yeah, those kind of activities, like student club activities or personal efforts, or maybe just buying some sort of video call lessons, can help a student to get better in speaking overall, in time. For the IELTS, well, are you going to ask the question or should I
No,
answer?
no, please continue with the IELTS.
Uh,
Then I'll ask my follow-up questions.
okay. And for the IELTS, well, I started to take lessons from you, and we've come along a lot. We've covered a lot in our lessons, and you already said that I had enough vocabulary to speak, but I had to like add new ones from your book too, from your vocabulary book. And well, yeah, we just spoke and you corrected me. We did some sort of practices, which was actually interesting because we also worked on how to stop and think. Those kind of nuances I think really helped me to get a good band score in speaking part. Um, and you always forced me to find different ways to say the same thing. It was also a good practice, I think. Well, yes, that's all I can remember for the moment.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all these tips with us. Now, as you know, we have three sections in the speaking part. In the first part, we just answer some general questions. In the second part, there's a long turn. So the students need to just prepare their answers for a minute and then speak up to 2 minutes. Now, can you share an effective method for dealing with speaking part two of the IELTS?
Um, well, it also depends on what kind of a teacher or instructor that you're going to enter the exam with, because mine was actually quite eager to ask lots of questions. Like,
Yep.
she was asking something, I was answering with one sentence, and then she just pulls out the second, third, and fourth question in a row. Even it was in the part two, by the way. So it's important to keep your focus and motivation at highest level, and answer the questions in a way that you feel comfortable, because sometimes create fictional information can lead you to a worse band score than you can think
Mhm.
of. Yeah, I actually don't have a lot of things to say for speaking, because I think speaking is one of the abilities that you have to develop in time.
Mhm.
I think you can, of course, improve in speaking by taking lessons, but some parts of speaking is, it really has to take time in order to fix. Sometimes it might be pronunciation, because we are taking it, the pronunciation, we're taking it as a habit. And it's really hard to get rid of that. Uh, yeah, that's why we have to keep our focus and motivation while we're speaking. And we have to feel confident. We have to um, just speak naturally, as much as you can, you know. Uh, that's all I can say.
Yeah, you're right. And that was a really good tip that you said we should be confident and so on. And a lot of students are anxious when it comes to the speaking part. Now, what advice would you give to students who are anxious about the speaking part of the IELTS?
Well, I'm also an anxious student, so I can tell you that, like, no matter what, just keep going. If you made a mistake, don't think about it. Just focus on what's going to happen, not what happened in the past. Even it's like a few seconds ago, just continue. That might be one of the best tips,
Yeah.
but it's really hard to apply. I understand, when a person just thinks about themselves, they can always find these kind of advices, but it's really hard to apply. So I think for this part, you might need someone who encouraged you to speak. And I think that's what you did for me while we were working on my speaking. Also, you once showed me a video of young Sheldon, and that I speak like this, like young Sheldon, and you said that you should be relax while you're speaking, like Sheldon's sister, and it was a very good point of observation that I get from someone else. Those kind of observations can only be seen by a third person. That's why I think while you're working on speaking, you definitely need a teacher. You can work with they can work with you or someone else. It doesn't really matter. But I think this skill really requires a human being with that student.
All right. Thank you. And thank you for the positive feedback and also
Yes.
for the example that you've given. And thank you so much. Now, let's just get to the final part of our interview. And let's just have some reflection. Looking back, is there anything you would have done differently in your preparation for the IELTS?
Maybe I would give myself more time. I could have started earlier, but it's not that bad to, when I think about it, I don't want to say I wish I had this, but yeah, I actually don't have a lot of things to say for this question, but I think I would just focus on IELTS more because I had other sort of things to figure out. I had lessons, I had other activities like side projects, and I did my best to focus on IELTS, but I'm not sure if I did my 100%. Yeah, I would probably give myself more time, or I would be more focused on IELTS.
All right, thanks. Thanks for sharing. And my last question. What is the most valuable lesson you learned during your IELTS journey?
I think we're not quite aware of what we're doing, or in what quality we're doing things. Because I always felt like my speaking is bad, my writing is bad, my reading is bad, to be honest. But in the exam, I got the highest score from reading,
Yes.
and my listening and speaking was also really great. I did quite a few mistakes, and I got a lower point from writing that I was aiming for, but it was okay, because I had other parts that really helped my score to go higher. Uh, my overall band score didn't drop because of writing. I don't think that it's really important. Um, yeah, for now, all I can say is that we really should be aware of what our strengths and weaknesses when it comes to a language, and we should always feel like it's not our mother tongue. We don't have to perform 100%. We can make mistakes, and if we don't make mistakes, it means that we don't even try. So yeah, we have to try and try and try. That's what really makes us learn something new.
That was great. Just motivational, just a speech for our audience. And thank you so much. It was just great. And thanks again for sharing all your just experiences and tips, strategies, and everything with us. I really appreciate it. And I wish you
You're
all the
welcome.
best in your future endeavors, in your future studies and career. Thank you so much.